So what's good with y'all? How's everybody doing? It's your boy, The Superior. We out here talking about a bit of music, some video game music. And in particular, talking about some ice level music in video games. Just kind of like, the goal for this is just to see, just kind of the vibe and to talk about what we hear. Like when we think of ice level music, what things in particular make you think that? Like, what are the certain things that you hear where you're like, oh yeah, I hear this thing. I hear this a lot in ice level sort of thing. It's kind of. So I'm gonna talk about what I think, like what I hear when I think of like ice levels and stuff. And I also want to hear from you guys. So I'm gonna be asking you guys. So my question right now for the Twitch chat right now, because I got Twitch chat here with me, and then also you guys in the YouTube chat. What do you guys think of when you think of video game ice levels? Like, what are the in terms of the music? What things do you hear? So, for me, to start off with, it's kind of like almost like a spectrum in a way. Like, there can be, like, your really, like, bouncy, like, holiday music. And then there's, like, your really, like, atmospheric, like, tundra, like, oh, I'm freezing. It's, like, it's cold, I'm alone sort of thing. It's, like, those are like the two extremes for me, and then you can kind of like put stuff anywhere in between. That's generally how I think of it. Some minor subdominant chords. Look, we might get nerdy next time. We'll talk about it. We can put it down, but but yeah, no. All for the simple stuff. So for me, when I get down there, so that's the first part. Second thing is the use of general auxiliary percussion. So mallet percussion and then stuff like shaker and tambourine. You can generally see those used a lot in ice level music, kind of like to complement, like sometimes to complement piano. Generally like shakers with like your really like bouncy, like Christmassy, like holiday tracks, like your like shaker and tambourine on your offbeats and your backbeats for that kind of stuff. You hear, like, again, bells and, like, xylophone, like, accompanying piano or doing its own thing. You hear, like bells and, like, chimes sort of things for certain things to kind of, like, simulate that, like, cold sort of feeling. Like, they use that a lot. And another thing, speaking of kind of, like, using things to simulate, like certain patches and certain sound effects. And this is the case for a lot of levels, but obviously, like, in particular, when you hear certain patches that are, like, you hear wind blowing. You just hear, like, wind blowing sound effects, or, like, you hear certain, like, voice patches, and they lay down some chords, kind of thing like that. You hear those things. That is, YouTube, forgot the E. Some YouTube. Shout outs to YouTube. But, yeah, no, that's kind of, like, stuff like that, and then, last, like, again, the use of piano. Piano is used a lot. Like in terms of like a solo piano thing, when it comes to like that like cold, a lot of piano melody type beat, you know? So those are the things that I think of when I think of that. It's like, again, the kind of the two spectrum of like that, like atmospheric, like cold and alone, and then your bouncy holiday stuff, and then a lot of those things. So we'll jump into the first thing that we will do. The first thing that we're going to kind of talk about, first song we're going to get in there is a very well-known one. I feel like this is like almost one of like the one of the most well-known sort of ice level themes for like those who like play a bunch of like video games and stuff, and like especially for those who know platformers, because we're talking about a bit of Banjo-Kazooie, some Freeze-Easy Peak. Y'all know about some Freeze-Easy Peak. What do you guys hear? What do y'all hear? That would make you think like of stuff that I've talked about and stuff that you think about. What do y'all hear? I hear a man on Sleigh Bells that has the same measure for 4 minutes. Yes, sir. Look, you already know what's good with it. Hold on a minute. You already know. You know what that life is like. Human metronome. Yes, sir. You need them. Let them work in the back. Hold on a minute. They doing work back there. Hey, yo, sign Tho Knower? I'm sorry. Can you help me out with your name? Tugrats? What's good? What's good? Also, another thing, maybe, when you guys hear this, like, the kind of, like, like, when you hear that, honestly, sometimes I kind of, like, think about that. Oh, is it Saint Honor? Oh! It could be Saint Honor. That's crazy. What's good? That makes so much more sense. Yeah, I was about to say, that makes a lot more sense than whatever I said. I said some cat. But yeah, no, like, when you hear the woodwind trills as well, the woodwind trills are something else that I kind of, like, that I would equate with, like, the very bouncy stuff. Like, I don't necessarily, like, think of that as, like, general ice level stuff. Because, like, that can be in a lot of places. But, generally, like, if, like, I hear, like, the woodwind trills up top as well, I kind of, that's, like, another thing that I would think of as well. Just not, like a big thing where I'm like, oh, yeah, ice level. You know, I feel cold when I hear some high woodwind trills sort of type beat. But yeah, no, that's kind of like that. Again, you hear the hear the man on Sleigh Bells, the measure, kind of stuff like that. You heard the wind. You heard the wind. It was just blowing the entire time. It never stopped. You know, you hear stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of like stuff that I think of when I think of it. So next up, we're gonna talk about some Mario. I am the wind. We're gonna talk about some Mario. Some Super Mario 3D World. We're gonna talk about Snowball Park. This is actually one of my favorites in terms of like ice level themes. This is one of my favorites. So we'll talk about some Snowball Park. Listen to this. But you know, so what do y'all hear in this? You know, I think about, you hear kind of like the percussion, you hear the triangle a little bit. Again, you hear that. You know, kind of like those things. I think a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm like, okay, like those things, like on top of, like, you know, you hear the bells and the triangle. Like, I like in terms of that kind of stuff, I equate with ice level things. We are chatting about particularly ice level themes and the things that you hear when you think of ice levels. So, like, if you think of like say your favorite video game song that's from an ice level, like what things that you would think of that make you think that it's like from an ice part of that game, sort of thing. So we're talking about that and talking about the very, very general things that you will hear in a lot of video game ice level themes that kind of like make you think of, hey, this is supposed to be a cold area. That's kind of what we're talking about. And, you know, I'm using songs from games that I like. And as well, for this one, I had a Google form that I sent out for my Twitter that I had people submit things to me as well. So these first two were two that I had. Freeze Easy Peak is a pretty obvious one. I think a lot of people probably would have done that if I didn't already say that it was on there. I feel like a lot of people would have chose Freeze Easy Peak as well. But this is something that I chose. Nobody submitted this. I chose this one. But yeah, also, so, because this is also going to be a YouTube video as well. So the beginning of the YouTube video, you're going to see, you know, for my first ever YouTube video I'm uploading, I mispronounced your name. Very sorry. I saw the lol he tried. I'm like, man, I really tried my hardest, and I can't read. It'd be like that when it'd be like that, especially when it'd be like that. But yeah, no, that's kind of the thing of it is. So I'd like to know, what do you think of when you think of video game ice levels? If you do, and if you don't, maybe we'll sit here and talk about some things that I think, and maybe next time you play a game with an ice level, you might hear those things. So next up, we got some Kirby. Shout out to some Kirby. Kirby has some of my favorite ice level themes, but the one that I chose today is Silver Snow Story from Kirby Triple Deluxe. Mess with the vibraphone? Yeah, dude. I love this song a lot. I think this song is super cool. This is cool. Hello, hello. Hope you didn't miss too much. You didn't miss too much. This is our third song. We're 3 songs in. Say hi to YouTube, Spock. This is going to be on the YT, so say hi to YouTube in the chat. Sonic GBA ice levels sound similar and have a lot of bells and chimes. Yeah. Like kind of like that, like mallet percussion and stuff like that. I equate a lot with ice levels. So yeah, no, that's a good point. That's actually something that I was thinking about. Almost like they're sparkly. Yes, yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I get too. We're gonna listen to some of that in a minute as well. Not on YouTube, but I have some Sonic Advance music out in the I have some Sonic Advance music on the non-YouTube playlist of them. I like the contrary emotion of this one. I do too. I think it sounds really cool. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be listening to some Sonic Advance later. We will be listening to some Sonic stuff on for this first part. Counter melody going kind of crazy. It is. What do you mean by contrary motion? It's like when the melody is going one way and like the harmony or something else goes another way. Hey, yo, Kyle, what's good? Is Carlos? Carlos is over here. What's good with you, Carlos? So it's like you hear like the melody maybe going down, and then you hear like something in the back going up in terms of like the tones. Now there's like the contrary motion. What's good with you, Carlos? Hold on a minute. I haven't seen that dude in a minute. I miss that guy. But yeah, no. But yeah, you guys, you know, you hear a lot of like, for this, it's a lot of like that like mallet percussion, you hear like the piano and like the vibes and stuff like that. That's sort of the things. Not sure if I know. I don't think you've met Carlos. Carlos doesn't have Discord and stuff like that to get on. But that's the homie. That's another trumpet homie. I love that guy. But yeah, no. So next up, we got some Mega Man X. We got some Chill Penguins. So for this one, we're gonna I prefer the original version, but the version submitted to me was the Maverick Hunter X version. Is the remaster of it. But I thought this one was pretty cool. We'll listen to the original one because I like it more. But we will also listen to Maverick Hunter X one because there are some things that I want to talk about within it. So yeah. So that's kind of that. So that's like, I wanna let's pull up the Maverick Hunter X version real quick. Like, you hear that kind of like top line, you kind of, again, like that sparkly kind of sound. Like, you know, when I think of Megan Love to See Minor, but you know, when I think of a lot of like ice levels, Saint Honor said it really well. It's like, it almost like they sound sparkly. There's a lot of like things where they kind of like sound sparkly or like you know, sort of things, and they use like the high, like the bells and the chimes and all that to do that sort of thing. Yeah. And then do you hear the patches? It's like, did you hear? So we'll go back real quick. Like, there's kind of like, you know, like certain patches that can kind of make you think that. A lot of this one, it's a lot. It's very mechanical. Again, Mega Man X is a lot of robots fighting. You know, it's robot on robot action sort of thing. So it can also be considered, you know, like the patch is supposed to be this kind of mechanical type thing. But you know, take that what you will. It's a broad idea. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. And I mean, you're not wrong necessarily. You're not wrong. I get what you mean though. There is definitely a particular music trend during like 8-bit, 16-bit and stuff like that. And honestly, like one of my favorites, like, you know, in terms of like I think of like trends to follow is it's fun listening to Sonic soundtracks. Because Sonic soundtracks, not necessarily as if they're like similar to other games, but they can be very similar to like whatever like the pop culture music is at the time a lot. In terms of like its sort of style. And it's fun to hear like Sonic soundtracks and kind of like think about the time that they were made and like, you know, what kind of styles they went through. I talked about that a bit when I did some Sonic Adventure 2. But for now, we'll move on from this one. You know, you heard a bit of Chill Penguin. We'll move on. We got some Metroid Prime, some Phendrana drifts. We're kind of moving more and more away from like very like high tempo and like kind of like holiday-ish stuff, and now we got some Metroid. Metroid is all about that atmosphere, and you know, this is gonna feel a lot colder and a lot more alone. Yeah, so when we hear a bit of Phendrana drifts, you know, that's that other idea, that's that other side. We've been kind of sliding from one end to the other end, where now we kind of get a bit more into that little atmosphere. It's cold. I'm cold, guys. It's, we kind of move into that area of like it's tundra, and like you're supposed to be like cold and like maybe alone, maybe not alone, but it's less more about that kind of like it's snowing outside, very excited to, oh, it's snowing outside and I can barely walk because snow's 3 feet deep or whatever type beat. It's like that kind of, it's a little on the other side. I really like this is a really cool song. You hear a lot of like the solo piano. There's not a lot going on. It's a lot of just kind of like little bits and pieces here and there. You hear a lot of like the electronic patches, kind of like the voices, kind of like laying it down. You hear the bells, or I shouldn't say the mallets. You hear like mallet percussion doing stuff because it's not necessarily bells. It's I think in this it's more. I think it's like marimba. I think could be corrected when you hear when you hear kind of like the scale going up and then kind of like it going down a bit, and then you hear the piano chords after the fact. I believe that is you hear that. You hear a lot of piano and stuff like that. So that's kind of something closer to the other side of the spectrum of that cold wind ice. Yeah, you Saint Honor got it in the chat. I'm glad you're still here after I completely butchered your name. Thank you for staying around. Oh man, I'm gonna be myself about that. All right, okay. So next up, talking about a little bit of Tales of, which y'all know about the Tales of series, RPG series going around. We're gonna go in particular to Tales of Berseria, the world of ice and snow. Bro, it's not that deep. Don't worry about it. I be feeling kind of bad. I'm gonna give it a bug with you. I be feeling kind of bad. But it's all good. Thank you so much for not worrying too much about it. I'm joking a little bit, but nah, I do feel kind of bad sometimes. So you guys kind of hear it there. You hear that up top. Again, like Saint Honor said, it kind of it almost sounds sparkly. Almost. I like that. I've never really used the term sparkly for, but I kind of like it. In terms of that, thinking about that, but it's a little bit more on the it's cold, it's kind of like empty, cold air sort of thing. It's a different idea than like, hey guys, it's Christmas. Guys, it's December, winter break. Get hype. So it's a little on the other side. And again, you can still kind of hear those bits and pieces of again like those patches. You're just kind of like it laid down, doing his thing. You hear kind of like bell stuff, whether or not it's like kind of like electronic, like piano sort of things, or like actual mallet percussion doing its stuff, chimes and triangle and stuff like that. You hear a lot of hear a bunch of this stuff, and it's like used in a very particular way. Again, I like the sparkly. So next up, coming up to the end. This is not the last song coming up though. We got Tundra Man from Mega Man 11. So this is what I actually really want to talk about. I think this one's really interesting. So let's pull it up. Tell me what you guys hear before I start talking. Tell me what you guys hear for this one. Let me know. Let me know. 90s dance track. A bit of Mortal Kombat vibes, but not that high. Okay, not that hard. High tempo sparkle. All right, so the reason why I want to talk about this is actually coming up in a minute. I'm gonna talk through a bit of it like after it plays, but this is kind of like, again, you guys can kind of hear it a bit. And one thing before I'll talk about it after the fact, but the idea, like, it's these things that make you think of ice level, desert level, volcano, plains, forest. They're generally very subtle. It's not like a huge thing. It's not supposed to be like a big thing a lot of the time that like tells you. It generally, like, the idea is like still to be very diverse and to create a diverse set of music, to not sound too samey to other things, but and like to create something that fits within the context of the game as well. It's like fitting within the context of the game, but also it's just it's the sprinkles. It's the sprinkles. Those things that discern what kind of stuff goes on is almost like the sprinkles. It's not always there. It pulls up for some songs it pulls up sometimes. This is a song like that. Some of that stuff it pulls up sometimes. But we're going to talk about a very important thing coming up, and then I'll get back to that other point. This part. So that kind of thing, I find that really interesting because it is that sort of thing where like a lot of instruments drop out and you kind of get just like these little blits, the do 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 doom 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 doom. Do 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 dun 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 dun, like that kind of stuff. Like I equate that a lot to like, again, like ice levels, like that kind of compositional decision to do that. Sometimes, like, again, you hear like that patch of kind of like the wind blowing sort of thing. But also another thing is that honestly, I can hear that a lot in just general cave levels, like just underground cave-like levels as well. This sort of idea also can be very pronounced, and like it's kind of like the idea of kind of like a mix in styles kind of like together, where you have this sort of thing and then you have like the like certain types of maybe instrumentation and stuff like that, whatever, behind it, and like kind of like almost like combining the two ideas because it's similar. Like the level is, I think, supposed to be this like underground like factory for Tundra Man. It's like an underground factory for Mega Man 11, and it's sort of that kind of like idea, I think. So that's kind of something I want to talk about, where it's like, this is something that I would think, and I would think of, okay, this could, like, you know, this might be a nice level, this could be a cave level. You know, it's like when you think about those sort of decisions that you make when composing. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's kind of like, I hear this sort of idea as well, kind of like in like certain like cave levels. So I talk, Kid Icarus Uprising, when we talk about the Kid Icarus Uprising air battles and a lot of its stuff being very contextual. Whenever Pit goes inside a cave, this sort of thing happens. A lot of the instrumentation drops and you just hear little bits. And like kind of like just like a small idea and then move on. So that's kind of that. So that's kind of it for Tundra Man. Last thing I want to talk about. So we talk about these songs, and before we get to the last song again, it's the idea of these things that, make you think ice level. They're very small. They're very much in the back. Again, like even for something like Freeze Easy Peak, you hear like the wind and you hear like the sleigh bells, like he's just back there. Whoever's doing it, obviously because it's an N64 game, it's, it's like digital sound, but again, like, like it's still like that, it's just back there the whole time. It's just back there sort of thing. And like that's like that thing is big and small. It's big and it's small. Where, it's like that's kind of like one of those things that make you think that way, but it's also one small part of a big picture. And that kind of thing. It's one small part of a big picture, and that's a lot of this other stuff is like that, where like the main melodies and a lot of these like compositional styled things can be done everywhere. And then, you add that little bit on top that makes it what you could think. And again, because you want to leave room for it to be contextual with the game. Like these songs are still like, it's about these characters and about what's going on screen, and different things are going on as you go. So like again, when we talk about a Chill Penguin and like Tundra Man for Mega Man, where it's supposed to be a lot going on, you're doing a lot of shooting, a lot of action, versus a Phendrana Drifts, where like you're doing some shooting, you're doing some fighting a little bit, but a lot of it is just exploring. You're just exploring, and it's you and you're by yourself, and there's not much going on, and the music kind of reflects that sort of thing. And so that's kind of again, but like, and there are different takes to that sort of thing, and there's a lot of things that you can do that are kind of like in that area that you can do, and then there's the one thing on top of it that makes it okay, this is this way. Because a lot of the stuff in Metroid Prime has that kind of like, a lot of that sort of style of composition, and then there's that little bit that makes each level unique in its way that would make you think of a certain area. So the last thing that I want to touch on is we're going to talk about Sonic. We're going to talk about Sonic Adventure 1. So this is technically 3 songs, because Sonic Adventure 1's Ice Cap is actually broken up into 3 areas. There is outside the Snowy Mountain, there's inside this icicle cave, and then there is the avalanche stage. So we're just going to go through all of them, about a minute of each, and then we'll talk about it. What do you guys hear? Hey, yellow homie, what's good over there? Foot Lovers Pizza. How you doing? So let's move on to the inside. Auxiliary still king, yeah. Good a lot. And they utilize it a ton in these ice levels. They utilize it a ton in the ice levels. Yo, man, I've been lurking. That's cool. I'm glad you've been around. I hope you've been enjoying the show. It's kind of that, you hear that, like, again, this is inside a cave, so you kind of get that, kind of cave sort of thing, as well as it's like ice, Sonic is jumping across icicles, blah, blah, blah. But this is a very slow part of the stage. This is actually a very slow part of the stage compared to, say, the first, or the third half of the stage, which we'll get into, in terms of, Sonic just kind of slowly moving his way up this ice kind of cavern, this limestone cave, as it's called. But, again, you hear those things that kind of, you continue to hear those things, then you hear kind of like the stuff with the cave mixed in of, like, these small little melodic ideas from different instruments. Then, again, you hear that auxiliary percussion in the back. You hear that kind of stuff. And then we get to this avalanche chase, and I'm just going to say, get the cat jams ready if y'all got them. Alright. I had to include this. I had to. I had to put this in. Because, again, again, all the stuff we talk about ice levels, and you get that. It's okay to have exceptions. But also, Foot Lovers Pizza Tier, I don't know anything about music. By the way, it just sounds good. That's all that matters. You have stuff that you like, and you have reasons why you like it. It's all good. Music is for everybody. There's a lot of different kinds of music. It's for everybody. You do whatever you want. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Music is just enjoyable. If people don't like the same music that you do, it's okay. That's fine. We got to be good with that. But, if you want to talk about, I like this music, I think it sounds good, and they say you don't know anything about music, shut up. Don't tell them anything. Just let them about their day. You enjoy what you like. That's it. But yeah, no. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. I had to include this at the end because, again, we ain't gonna beat around the bush. Do this really sound like some, does this really have the things that I talked about in terms of this is an ice level? The things that I talked about, it doesn't. It doesn't have those things. But if you think about the gameplay, for those who have played Sonic Adventure 1 and for those who haven't, you're being chased by an avalanche. You are on a snowboard, snowboarding down the mountain, and there's an avalanche behind you just trying to get you. So, that's kind of, that's the vibe. That's the idea, and that's kind of behind the song. You know, we get out of the, oh, you know, it's cold, this ice, you know, you hear all this stuff from the first two, and it's just be cool, be wild, and be groovy, like the song says. But no. Thank you guys so much. Stream, we're going to keep going. We're going to have another conversation with YouTube. Thank you guys so much for being around and tuning into this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. And again, if you guys have anything that makes you think of ice levels that I may not have included, or stuff that you want to talk about in any of the individual songs that I showed, put it down in the comments and let me know. Thank y'all so much. And I'll see you guys on YouTube later.